Tonight, from retired seniors to people desperate for housing, it's getting harder and harder to afford to live.
Almost tripled now, the cost of the heating fuel. So, I mean, that adds up in a hurry.
The province is aging fast and seniors are struggling to buy essentials. We'll look at what that means for retirement.
Homelessness can look very different for people living in Corner Brook.
Certainly have a lot of homeless here in our own area, and we want to create that awareness.
One group took to a rally in downtown today to show exactly what that means. I'll have more tonight on Here and Now.
These are fantastic times at the seafood processing plant here in Bay de Verde. Salmon is now on the menu.
It's really a great day for Quinlan's to be able to finish what we started in 2017.
People from all the communities on both shores, Conception Bay, Trinity Bay, all come here to work. It's bright. The future is bright.
Thousands of 8-pounders like this every day. That story coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin tonight with the cost of living. Many seniors are struggling to pay for the basics, and it's robbing them of the retirement they dreamed of. Newfoundland and Labrador has the fastest aging population in the country, so seniors here are feeling especially stretched. Chris O'Neill-Yates has our top story.
The cost of living doesn't have 77-year-old Doreen Noseworthy singing for joy. Noseworthy and her husband are part of a growing number of Canadian seniors who are watching the buying power of their pensions shrink.
Our pension dollar is still worth what the dollar was worth 20 years ago. And people don't realize that, They think that because you're retired from teaching, you're a fat cat. And of course,
but the past couple of years, she's had to do a lot of belt tightening.
It's almost tripled now, the cost of the heating fuel. So, I mean, that adds up in a hurry.
Almost a quarter of Newfoundland and Labrador's population is over 65, making it the fastest aging province in Canada. A recent report from the Seniors Advocate found that 32% don't have enough income to meet basic needs: housing, food, medicines.
How did I get here? It keeps being the question that we hear. And they're proud people. They worked their entire lives. They raised their families. They did all the right things.
The nearest supermarket is 50 kilometers away in St. John's, and gas is expensive.
You don't have a lot left over for frivolous things. You're just, you have to keep watching the pennies.
Then recently, a very difficult decision to sell their home.
Some of the issues for us are, maintenance. We're looking at having to replace the roof now in a couple of years, which would be roughly about $15,000.
Money they can't afford. Even though it's the right decision, it will be hard to leave, says Noseworthy.
It's more than a house, but it is what it is.
Noseworthy and her husband will move into a senior's apartment when their house sells. She's determined to make the best of their remaining golden years, even if they are tarnished. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, Holyrood, Newfoundland.
Well, staying with the cost of living, today is the National Day of Housing, and one group in Corner Brook decided to march along the downtown streets to raise awareness about homelessness in their community. That homelessness looks different than people may think. Here and Now's Colleen Connors brings us more.
We certainly have a lot of homeless here in our own area, and we want to create that awareness. So for the folks in Corner Brook, it's a lot of hidden homeless. Folks are couch surfing, they're moving from space to space, and so we brought suitcases and reusable bags and things like that, because just packing your belongings up and then moving on to the next spot. And we have some folks that are staying in emergency accommodations, so again, they don't have all of their belongings with them, probably had to leave them in multiple places. So it really is just take what you have and we're going.
I would expect that it's sad, frustrating, and sometimes often feels hopeless, I would expect. You know, and that's visually what we wanted to really kind of represent here, is that idea that, wow, what a burden that is to have to carry everything that is important to you with no real sense of when that's going to end.
I can't imagine it being very comfortable when you don't have a place to call your own. You don't have a kitchen to cook in. You don't have services to do laundry. You are, putting things into a bag just to move on to the next spot. I don't think it's very comfortable at all. There's still a lot of folks in our community that might think that we don't have a homeless situation because we're not seeing people on the streets or in tents set up in public common spaces, but it does exist. And, we just want to create that awareness that the lack of affordable housing is a huge problem in our community.
It's not just those at the lowest end of the socioeconomic scale, that it is you and I who can be impacted. That, with the price of groceries, the price of heating costs, any one of us could be edged out of the housing market at any time. Most of us are only a few paychecks away, and so that means that this issue is relevant for everybody.
Top European Union leaders will arrive in St. John's tomorrow to meet with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Here Now's Peter Cowan has more on what to expect.
The beautiful views of downtown St. John's are one of the reasons that European leaders wanted to come to Newfoundland and Labrador, but this province is going to be more of a backdrop than central to any of the discussions over the next couple of days. Coming are the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the President of the European Council, Charles Michel. They're going to be meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and there are plenty of big international issues that are on the agenda. For example, the war in the Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and the war on climate change. Today, European officials said that they do expect a new agreement between Canada and the European Union when it comes to fighting climate change. There are a couple of areas that Newfoundland and Labrador may make an appearance. The first is one that lots of people here care about, and it's the seal hunt. The European Union bans the importation of most seal products, and today European officials said that it's likely to come up in some small way, but they described it as not one of the main irritants when it comes to trade between Canada and Europe. Another area is when it comes to energy. There are numerous hydrogen projects proposed for Newfoundland and Labrador, which would produce green hydrogen. That's energy that Europe is very interested in, so that will be part of the discussions. The discussions won't be very long, though. It's all going to get underway, officials told us, with a dinner tomorrow evening, followed by discussions on Friday before it all wraps by Friday afternoon. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
At least 2 people are dead, and the FBI is investigating after a vehicle exploded at the Rainbow Bridge border crossing near Niagara Falls, Ontario. All 4 border bridges between Ontario and Western New York are closed, as is the Buffalo Airport. The Niagara International Transportation Technology Coalition says a vehicle appears to have exploded at a checkpoint after driving into a toll booth at the crossing. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the situation very serious and quickly left question period today to be further briefed. We'll have more on this a little later in the show.
Well, we've been sitting under a ridge of high pressure for most of the day today across the island and up across Labrador. We do have some cloud cover now. Onshore flurries, though, have definitely been the rule across most of the metro area today. Our next weather maker just moving into the maritime provinces at the moment, and will move in as we head through pretty much the day tomorrow for parts of at least southwestern portions of the island. But if we zoom in now, you can see all of that snow, rain, and even some freezing rain working its way our way. Now, as far as now is concerned, we do have some of those onshore flurries in northerly flow across the Avalon. Now, that will last for the next couple of hours, and then we should see those taper off tonight. But the area of low pressure already prompting a couple of watches and warnings, or warnings at the moment anyway. Rainfall warnings along the south coast of the island, as well as a wreck house wind warning and a special weather statement in effect for parts of central. That is because of the potential for freezing rain. I will get into all the details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, Bay de Verde is celebrating the opening of a new seafood processing and packaging line. It will mean year-round employment in a town that's usually quiet this time of year. It's the result of a partnership between a processing giant in this province and a Norwegian company that's building an aquaculture foothold in Placentia Bay. Here Now's Terry Roberts reports.
About a year ago, a scene like this in Bay de Verde was unthinkable. Thousands of farmed Atlantic salmon, freshly plucked from sea cages in Placentia Bay, moving along a brand new $16 million processing line. Fish nearly as long as a baseball bat, as heavy as a sack of flour. This is all the result of a partnership between Norway's aquaculture giant, Grieg Seafood, Per Grieg, the company's chairman seen here on the right, and Quinlan Brothers, with President Robin Quinlan on the left. This new line was built in short order, and for the past 6 weeks, workers have processed about 100 tons of salmon here each day. The work has kept 2 shifts of 50 people each very busy. The site is a blend of international workers from Thailand, Mexico, and the Philippines, and local workers like Stephanie Brewer.
I'm kind of proud, to say that I'm from Bay de Verde. We're processing this here in our community, and I think it's wonderful.
Crab is king in Bay de Verde, but it's seasonal, spring and summer. The salmon harvest happens in the fall and early winter, making this plant a true year-round operation, a rarity in this province. It means economic stability for workers like this and hope for community leaders.
Hopefully, this in some small way will revitalize and give small rural communities such as us here in Bay de Verde an opportunity to redefine and reinvent ourselves.
We've never had this much activity in Bay de Verde at this time of year. Usually we're winding down, but now we're winding up.
It all went up in smoke 7 years ago, but the Quinlans quickly rebuilt, left 1/3 of the new plant empty, ready for future development. Grieg, meanwhile, has been slowly growing its operations. A hatchery and smolt operation in Marystown, sea cages in Placentia Bay, investing more than $200 million so far. But they needed a partner to process and package all that fish. The Quinlans stepped up, and by early winter, about 5,000 tons of salmon, the first generation of fish grown in Placentia Bay, will have passed through this plant. This is the final product right here. Each of these fish, about 10 to 12 pounds, packaged in ice, all ready for a hungry market. The Quinlan and Grieg teams showed off their partnership this week. Fish that are healthy, good growth, no lice, an experiment in using sterile fish that has paid off, all destined for a fast-growing North American market that right now is dominated by products from Norway, Chile, and Scotland.
The only one that can provide the North American market with locally sourced fish is Canada. That's why we are here.
There's government money here, $6 million from the Atlantic Fisheries Fund. Robin Quinlan says inflation and interest rates are making it harder to invest and expand. All this may not have been possible without government help, he says.
I think it's a critical component, and it was, I will say to you, for me, a critical component to be able to make the decision, to be able to make this investment for Quinlan Brothers.
Meanwhile, Grieg has big plans for future growth in Marystown and Placentia Bay, but it's struggling to come up with the cash to make it happen. So now it's looking for partners.
In Newfoundland, we see great potential for more volume.
Whatever happens, it appears this plant will be busy for many years to come. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Bay de Verde.
Well, the Innu Nation wants to be part of hydro development talks with the province and Quebec, saying so far the group has been in the dark. Formal talks began months ago between Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador on the Churchill Falls renegotiation. Peter Panashway says talks shouldn't proceed without consultation with the Innu Nation.
I don't see how the project would proceed without involving the Innu Nation. As I said, you could do this in the 60s, in the 70s, just totally ignore Aboriginal rights and go ahead and proceed with the project. But in this day and age, I don't think that's going to be I don't think that's going to fly.
Now, Panashway says any hydro deal needs to be beneficial for the Innu Nation, and he believes there's room for all sides to work together. Meantime, Premier Andrew Furey has said consultations will happen in the right way at the appropriate time, but just not yet. Well, if you've been looking for a certain talking tree at the Avalon Mall in St. John's recently, you may have walked away a little stumped. For decades, the Happy Tree has been a central part of the mall's holiday decorations, greeting children and accepting donations for the Salvation Army. But now the Christmas icon is retiring, and not everyone is happy about it.
So the Happy Tree is retiring. He's being replaced by an elf this year. What do you think about that?
I think that it is very traditional for Newfoundlanders who have like shopped in the Avalon Mall to always have the Happy Tree. So I think it's kind of sad. It's kind of like time passing and everything's kind of changing. So it's just an adjustment, but it's sad for a lot of people. Yeah, we always used to make sure that we donated and went out and supported the cause during Christmas. It was always just another Christmas tradition, which is kind of like Newfoundland is all about the traditions at Christmas. So yeah, for sure.
That sucks. It was a great program for kids, and also it was a spirit of growing up in Newfoundland. Happy Tree, see it in the mall. It looks hilarious, and what it did for kids was great.
What do you think about the Happy Tree retiring this year?
It's kind of sad, really. When you think about it, it was kind of an iconic thing with the Avalon Mall area, and just to replace it by something that's virtual seems less than Christmassy. I used to bring my daughter to see the Happy Tree at least every couple of weeks. She really enjoyed it.
Yeah, what did she think about it? When she was younger, I assume.
Oh, it was one of her favorite things. Actually, the Happy Tree and Christmas, if anybody remembers that.
Okay.
I think it's very devastating. It's like a icon of the Avalon Mall. I know the Avalon Mall made some changes, but why make the change to Avalon Happy Tree? I mean, maybe do some upgrades with him, not retire him. It's so sad. It really is too bad. I mean, it seems like everything has gone virtual. I mean, yeah, he was sort of virtual, but he was like present. Like you could see him, you could interact, but I don't know, it's just too bad.
I think the Happy Tree guy was a really talented speaker and engaging. So I hope he goes on to better things, or at least enjoys retirement.
Don't cry because it's over, but smile because it happened, and we're really gonna miss him.
I remember Chris the Moose. Well, the Happy Tree may have retired. The Happy Tree campaign continues with a new figurehead, a digital elf called Avi. Avi is also interactive. The head of the charity campaign says there may have been mixed reactions to Happy's retirement.
Mostly, I think, from the parents and grandparents, as opposed to the kids. The kids love being able to stand on that little circle in front of Abby and chat with the elf. So you know what? As I mentioned, it's a sign of the times. Electronics are here, digital is the way, and kids are very comfortable with that, as we know.
So between Shalloway and Great Burin, we're probably looking at close to 600 people lived right here in this area.
Well, it looks very different today. Stay with us. We're journeying back in time to a place called Step-Aside.
Well, the weather's been fairly quiet over the past couple of days. That will not be the case tomorrow. I will break the full forecast down for you coming up.
Got a bit of a shock this afternoon when I looked out the window and saw all the flurries coming down. A bit of a snowy afternoon in St. John's.
It's snowy, then a bunch of rainbows. It was actually kind of nice out there this afternoon with the sun shining through at some points today. We did reach a high around 0 degrees in St. John's. Temperatures around there or a few degrees above, depending on where you were, and a few degrees below for the northern peninsula, as well as along the northeast coast towards Twillingate. And up across Labrador, temperatures generally sitting in the minus single digits today, but that is pretty much right around where you should be sitting this time of year. You take a look at where you are now, though, you definitely got a wind chill out there, feeling more like minus 14 in Cartwright, minus 10 in Mary's Harbour. And then if you take a look across the island, we've got those wind chills generally into the minus single digits, and that's where they're going to stay as we head through the night tonight. Now, our next weather maker making its way across the maritime provinces at the moment. Most of New Brunswick seeing snow. We're seeing that changeover happening for parts of Nova Scotia, and that is exactly what we are going to see as we head into tomorrow, starting in the morning. For the time being tonight, though, we're just looking at that chance of flurries, especially in that onshore flow, that northerly flow across the Avalon. That should end over the next couple of hours. And then we've got some snow or light snow or freezing, light snow or flurries in Lab West, and we'll head towards central Labrador as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow. Other than that, there's not a whole lot happening. By the time we get to 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, that's when we're going to start to see that rain or snow right on the doorstep of southwestern portions of the island. Temperatures tonight in the minus single digits for most of us, except low-lying areas. Again, you're looking at your temperatures dipping quite significantly tonight into about minus 12, minus 13. Around Grand Falls, Windsor, and then up across Labrador, staying somewhere where you are, pretty much where you are now, anywhere from about minus 2 to about minus 6 or minus 7 overnight tonight. Winds generally light for most, except a little breezy up across Labrador. Southerly winds or southwesterly winds will be gusting anywhere from about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, like I said, the snow and or rain will start early tomorrow morning for the southwest. We will likely see towards the coast this all rain. But further inland areas, especially in the higher elevations, we may see this start as snow. That will move through north and east as we head into the afternoon hours. So late afternoon, just after sunset or just before sunset, we should start to see some of that either likely wet snow mixture through central. And then the Avalon, this will be a mainly rain event, but you'll see that start around supper hour. And then for the northern peninsula, you'll see that later this evening. Now, it will quickly transition through to rain through a period of potentially ice pellets and then even some freezing rain associated with that as well. That will move through the overnight up across or up through central areas and up across Labrador. This will be a mainly snow event. So your periods of snow will develop later tomorrow night and then continue through Friday morning. Likely just going to stick around for the first half of Friday, especially towards the coast. That should clear out quite quickly. And then we will see a warm up. And that's hence why we're going to see that change over to rain. Now, how much rain are we talking about? Areas along the southern portion, southwestern portion of the island will see the most. We could be talking about 50, maybe even 70 millimeters of rain. That rain through the interior, likely 20 to 30 millimeters, a lot less the further east you go, but we could be talking about trace maybe 5 millimeters of rain. And then as far as the snow is concerned, up across Labrador, that's where most of the snow should fall through Friday afternoon. Still well below warning criteria, though, about 10, maybe 15 centimeters of snow now towards the strait. You may pick up a bit more than that, and then a lot less than that across the island, maybe 2, 5 centimeters. Higher elevations, you may pick up a bit more than that, but that should be about it. Best chance of seeing the freezing rain will be in parts of central and higher elevations on the west coast. It shouldn't be too significant, but it could make some surfaces fairly slippery. But once we see that temperature rise, that will change over to rain, like I said, and then it should help melt anything that does fall. Temperatures tomorrow will be hovering around 0 or 1 or 2. We will see the temperatures warm up, though, through the overnight period. I'm talking 6, 7, even 8 degrees. And then for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures hovering around 0, maybe a degree or 2 above. But yeah, what does fall will certainly be a wet snow.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Ashley.
No problem.
Well, Burin Ecotours is new to the provincial tourism scene. It takes visitors to Burin Island, to the site of a 1929 tsunami, and to a place called Stepaside. CBC's Todd O'Brien visited that rugged, beautiful area locals say hasn't been touristed to death.
All right, where are we?
Right now we're in Great Burin, of course, on the island of Great Burin Island.
Tell me what this would have looked like back in the day.
Oh my God, from here, where you're standing right now, we probably would have been houses right here. You look at the pictures. And as you look around, in all areas, there's foundations, rock foundations, concrete foundations. So this particular area right here and over here was Shalloway, which is right across the harbour. That was connected with boardwalks over here. So between Shalloway and Great Burin, we're probably looking at close to 600 people lived right here in this area. And right up over the hill, you can see a white marker. That's a headstone over there. That's where the church, the Methodist church.
You know, what do you do when people come?
Well, we give them two different excursions. One is, of course, the inlet tour, where we take you on up through the reach and then down into here, into Burin, Great Burin Harbour, and down into Party's Island and Footscove, where we were, and then on down into Port of Bra, where the tsunami had a devastating effect on that end, and then back to our docks. The other one we take you, and just up from Footscove is Stepaside. We bring you in there and we drop our party on the land, and they hike across the island and they come out right where we're stood up here. So this is their view when they come out here. Yeah.
What's your connection to this island?
My passion is, my wife is from Burin, and her father gave me a lot of stories about this area, so it kept me totally intrigued in what this island was all about. You remember, this was probably one of the bigger towns, communities on the whole coast back then. And if you travel as you do, you know that this is a unique area. It's still in its raw state, I call it. It's not touristed at. It's still very natural, everything here, right? This is our second year, and we've made a lot of inroads, and the people that come, the response we're getting is amazing. And believe it or not, we're getting a lot of descendants that go back, way back, that are coming here from the States and from other parts of Canada, wanting to know where their great-great-grandparents lived or started to live. And I mean, it's amazing the history that this place carries with it.
Well, a survey says, despite the cost of living crisis, people are still going all out with holiday spending this season. It's especially true here in Atlantic Canada. That story is ahead.
Crippling grocery bills, unaffordable rent, gas tanks that are always half empty. We're in a cost of living crisis, and it's taking a toll on families, students, and average earners. Join us for a new series as we meet people in this province juggling multiple jobs to make ends meet, burning long hours just to cover the basics. The Grind airs Mondays on Here and Now.
People in this province are getting ready to open their wallets as the Black Friday splurge gets underway this week. Now, you might expect the skyrocketing cost of living would cause people to dial back their spending this holiday season, but a new survey from the Retail Council of Canada says, on average, Canadians plan to spend more on gifts. Over 2,500 Canadians were surveyed and say they plan to spend an average of nearly $900 this year compared to $782 last year, and Atlantic Canadians plan to spend even more than that, over $1,100. I spoke with the Executive Director of the Credit Counseling Services of Newfoundland and Labrador about why he thinks shoppers plan to spend more this year.
I mean, keep in mind, we haven't had Christmas for 3 years. So I think part of what you're seeing here with I'm going to spend $900 is that I haven't spent anything close to that in the last 3 Christmases. So I think that's part of it. The other part is the news has been so bad and it's so, oh my gosh, that people have adopted it. Oh well, what's the point? You know, what's the point? I might as well do what I'm going to do and it will be what it's going to be. There's some of that out there. And there's also the general, we are now getting more upbeat advertising, we're being told now that it's okay. It's okay. And then the final point, the fourth point would have to be that we're being told that we have a role to play in the recovery, you know.
Local shopping, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your concerns about this idea of people spending more this holiday season, considering everything is more expensive? People are really feeling the financial pressures right now when you go to the supermarket, when you buy anything, but yet they're planning to spend more. So what kind of trouble can people get themselves into with that kind of approach?
Yeah, we will pay for these decisions. I'm going to say as early as the summer of 2024. That might be a bit of a push, but you know, generally speaking, it takes a while for a financial problem to really ramp up. So, but we'll pay for this. We'll pay for it with higher inflation rates. We'll pay for it with more leaner future Christmases. You know, I would wonder if Christmas 2023 is going to be generous. It will be curious to know what Christmas 2024 will be like. I suspect more lean.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking ahead to Christmas now? We have Black Friday coming up this week. What advice would you give to someone as they're planning out their Christmas shopping?
If you do not have cash, do not spend it. It's that simple, it's that cut and dry. You know, the cost is, you have to build the cost of credit into the cost. You have to, otherwise you're lying to yourself. It often takes 20 years to clear out debt. So if I'm going to go to the Irving station and fill my car with gas, and by the time I get that paid off on my line of credit, if that's 10 years down the road, what's a tank of gas cost me? Significant. And you know, we have to be aware of the fact that when you buy on credit, you increase the cost of whatever it is you're buying significantly. Credit counseling will be run off its feet starting on January 20th, and you'll see a waiting time of 2.5 weeks to get into credit counseling around the middle of January.
Are you expecting to see more people than usual this year?
We're seeing more now. We are significantly recovering from COVID. During COVID, our caseload dropped to the point where we were seeing 18, 22 cases a month. And right now we're seeing 45 to 50. So we're growing back, slowly but surely. And we're seeing higher debt loads and more creditors. Christmas is still about an affirmation, still about a confirmation. It's not about wealth or accumulation. And one of the best things families can do, in my view, is Secret Santa. You know, if you've got a family of 4, and you've got 4 spouses or 4 partners, and you've got a total of 8 kids, you know, that's 16 people. Everybody draws a name and buys one gift. And you put limits and parameters. But then what you do is you have an event where everybody gets together. That's the gift. That's the gift. That's one thing people can do, is come together as a family.
More and more women are taking up salmon angling, and it's not always about catching fish. Watch Seeking Salmon and Serenity, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Newbornlander is a budding business here in the province, selling stylish baby clothes. The social enterprise also advocates for better immigration policies. You may have caught its creator, Constanza Sifatle, on Dragon's Den last season. We swung by her store to hear all about it and started by asking what was her strategy with the dragons.
Finally, a woman who moved from Chile to Newfoundland. And she's ready to share her story and her business with the dragons.
Hi, dragons.
Hi.
Oh, that experience was amazing. I was really determined. So I tried to see them as a human, not as an investor. And my big challenge was, I hope that they can understand the power of this business, not just see the numbers, and see the potential because it's a sustainable business. We make high quality accessories for babies, and we are really proud about that. But I am more proud about the story of Newbornlander and the people that make this hat, the story that all these women immigrants bring to this place. I am eager to show employers how they can really create an environment of multiculturalism and create this sense of belong. I moved here 8 years ago in supporting my husband in education. I was a lawyer, commercial lawyer back home, and I couldn't enter to the labor market. The transfer of credential was impossible, and I didn't speak a word of English. Unfortunately, for my immigration status, I was not client of the organizations that provide these English classes, so I need to figure out by myself what to do. And then I had my first child, and I get inspired in the baby industry because it was really hard at that time to find good quality accessories. So I bought a domestic machine, couple of fabrics, and I started to watch videos in YouTube to learn how to sew. I never touched a sewing machine before. And from that, Newbornlander was born.
All right, well,
thank you guys.
Thank you,
It was so good to be here.
Thank
you, Mommy. So my expectation was, if I am able to explain these 6 people my why I am doing this, I definitely think that one of them would be engaged and would feel the pain. And I think investors don't only invest in the business, they invest in the person. And I believe that Manjit, since the beginning, trusts in us, and in me in this case, trusting the brand in our story, and she saw the potential. Thank you so much, everyone, for your empathy with my history. So, Manjit, I think I will go with you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Congrats. I definitely want to reach all Canada and also start to export our products. And my dream is see this Newbornlander growing across the country and hiring immigrants across the country. I believe that the problem that we have in immigration here in our province is different, and we have different challenges than the rest of Canada, but I know this pain, you can feel it in every province of Canada. Maybe in different, levels, but I believe, why not to see Newbornlander in another province, hiring and welcoming newcomer women and create a real employment settlement program for immigrant women in a sustainable environment.
A deadly vehicle explosion on the U.S. side has closed 4 border crossings with Canada in the Niagara Falls area. The investigation is ongoing, and law enforcement on both sides of the border are calling the situation very fluid, and a potential terrorist act has not been ruled out. CBC's Jamie Strachan has the latest.
Officials on both sides of the border are investigating after a vehicle exploded at a border crossing. It happened at the Rainbow Bridge between Niagara Falls, Ontario and New York State. The vehicle appears to have exploded after driving into a toll booth. Canadian government officials tell CBC they're highly confident the vehicle originated in the U.S. This witness confirms that account.
He swerved out, went in front of the car, hit the fence, went flying up into the air. I think there was an elevation part. He went up into the air, and we just seen the fireball, and that's all we could see. It was just covered in smoke everywhere.
Sources tell CBC both occupants of the vehicle are dead. It's unclear at this point whether the crash was intentional, but officials say it will be approached as a terrorist incident until proven otherwise.
This is an evolving situation. Information is coming into Canadian authorities from their American counterparts, literally minute by minute.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul said in a statement the New York State Police are working with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, who are leading the investigation. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told the House of Commons additional measures are being put in place at border crossings across the country.
We are taking this extraordinarily seriously, and Mr. Speaker, I will have to excuse myself now to go get further updates and work on this very serious situation.
For now, all vehicle traffic between Ontario and New York State has been halted.
All border crossings in Niagara Region, Fort Erie, Rainbow, and the Queenston-Lewiston Bridge are all closed to traffic, coming and going to and from the United States into Canada.
The incident comes one day before U.S. Thanksgiving, one of the busiest days of the year at the border crossing. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, 2 of Canada's astronauts have been given new assignments. The details were announced at the Canadian Space Agency today.
I am happy to announce that Josh Kutwick will be the 4th Canadian astronaut to embark on the extended mission to the ISIS space station, scheduled to launch aboard the CST-100 Starliner in early 2025 for a mission of 6 months. And another of our CSA astronauts, Jenny Gibbons, has been assigned as the backup for Jeremy on Artemis 2. Jenny, big round of applause. Woo!
Well, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry made the announcement at CSA headquarters in Montreal. Kutryk heads into orbit, marking the space station's 25th anniversary. Gibbons will replace Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen if he's unable to take part in the Artemis 2 mission, which is scheduled to fly around the moon as early as this time next year. The Montreal Alouettes are celebrating their Grey Cup victory with their hometown fans today. Well, misty rain and fog didn't dampen spirits as crowds of Montrealers sang and cheered along the victory parade route. The Owls beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the CFL Championship 28-24 on Sunday in Hamilton. Montreal and Winnipeg had never met before in the 110-year history of the Grey Cup. It's the Alouettes' first championship in 13 years, and it was particularly sweet for the team because they were considered the underdogs. The inaugural World Championship of the trashiest sport ever has been held in Japan. Players from 21 countries took part in the Spagomi World Cup in Tokyo. It's a combination of the Japanese words for sport and trash. Teams of 3 have 90 minutes to comb the streets and public spaces in a race to pick up the most litter. They're awarded points for the amount and type of trash collected. This year, the United Kingdom took the top spot, collecting nearly 60 kilograms of rubbish. right, so it's time to look at the long range, and that means looking ahead to the weekend.
We are
already.
Yeah, we are. Thursday night into Friday. The area of low pressure is still very much going to be in play, especially up across Labrador. Let's take a look at what's going on. So this is when we are going to see that warm up Thursday evening into Friday morning. So we will see that transition through to rain. It will be raining all through the night for the most part into early Friday morning, but we do have some colder air on the backside of that, and that means potentially in the higher elevations on the west coast we may see some more flurries. But for the most part, most of Labrador, especially towards the coast, will still be seeing that snow through the day on Friday, and it will eventually taper off as we head into the afternoon. Again, amounts likely 5 to 15 centimeters of snow, 10 to 15 in some of the higher elevations. And as far as your Friday afternoon is concerned, we'll likely see a bit of clearing in the afternoon, but again, like I said, hanging on to that chance of some flurries or onshore flurries anyway, especially towards the evening hours for the west coast. Daytime highs will sit between 9 and 10 degrees, but they will drop, especially towards the morning for Corner Brook. So your morning high will be 6 degrees, but then as the afternoon rolls through, those temperatures will drop. Across Labrador, generally sitting into the minus single digits, back into the minus double digits though for those of you in Lab City, hovering around minus 11 is your daytime high. Now, into Friday evening and Saturday, it will be fairly quiet, which will be good news. We may see that potential for maybe showers or flurries in the morning hours for the Avalon. And then onshore flurries will continue for those of you on the west coast. A little breezy up across Labrador as the gradient tightens a little bit. So for your Saturday morning, and that's because the area of low pressure is going to sit offshore there and a ridge of high pressure in behind it. But for the most part, it will be a quiet weather day, definitely different from what you're going to see on Friday. And your temperatures are going to drop, especially through central Labrador, hovering around the minus single digits. And then across the island, big drop in temperatures as well, down to -4 for those of you on the west coast through central. Sunshine temperatures in the minus single digits and about +1 for St. John's. You're going to stay there pretty much through the weekend, maybe a bit warmer by Monday, but it will be unsettled. A few flurries certainly on the go for Sunday and into Monday. And then for central and western Newfoundland, unsettled mainly towards the west, but looks like a nice weekend for those of you in central. Temperatures hovering near or just below 0. And then for eastern Labrador, nice weekend. Flurries will return on Monday. And then for western Labrador, generally minus single digits for the beginning of next week, but dropping for your overnight lows. This shot is a great view of Bay de Verde. And Eugene Howell shared this great shot with us.
Great.
Those beautiful colors. Love it. Thank you so much for that. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can send them to my Facebook page, or the best place, though, is to email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Eugene always has such great photos. Was that taken with a drone, I suppose? It must be a drone.
Yeah, must be a drone.
Oh, just
Great
fantastic.
shot,
Some great photos you can take with drones of
video.
Yeah, my goodness. Real game changer.
I was just going to say, it changed the game, that's for sure.
Well, that's it for us on this Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow.